Shamblers, our undead minions, are going to activate. Mostly we have ranged. We have 3 ranged and 1 melee attacker. If you look at the Shamblers card in the upper right corner with the multiple arrows and the 2 inside, that's their movement points. They can move 2. And below that, you'll see that 2 with like the little brackets around it. That is their courage. And remember, since each of our heroes has a Harbinger ability or the Harbinger title, they have to pass a courage test in order to attack us, which means they have to roll equal to or higher than that. It's not hard for the undead to pass their courage, of course, because they're undead. They have really very little to fear. The melee attacker is going to move into position to attack according to priority. Well, they're all going to move into position to attack according to priority. And you can see on the priority section of their card, you start at the top, and for the undead, it's proximity. So whoever's closest, that's who they're going to go to. And the melee attackers would move first. There is only one character, our apprentice, that is within 2 of the melee attack Shambler. So it will move 2, and she's the closest. So it's going to move into range to attack her. The ranged ones have a range of 2. And you can see that under the attack section of the Shambler's card where it says Ancient Weapons. They can do 1 attack on 1 target. It has a range of 1 for melee and 2 for ranged. And they do 1 damage per hit. The ranged attackers are going to move into range in order to attack, and they're not going to get any closer. So as long as they're within 2, they're going to stop moving. And again, they're going to go with proximity. So we'll start here with this one up front, who is 3 away from the soldier and also 3 away from the apprentice. And so you go to the next one. So proximity is the same. Faith, they have no faith. They're not the Acolyte, so you go to the next one, least vitality. So that would be the apprentice. She has a vitality of 6, as opposed to the soldier who has a 10. So this one is going to go for her, and it's only going to have to move forward 1 space, and it's within 2 for its attack. Then we have this one here, who is 1, 2, 3, again, exactly the same distance away. And we already know between these 2 who they're going to choose. So again, it's going to move forward 2. That puts it within a range of 2 to attack that apprentice. And finally, again, we start at proximity. She is the closest. Well, actually, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. They are actually the same again, but the tiebreakers of faith, and then we get to least vitality. It's the same. Again, it'll just move forward 2 to get within a range of 2 so it can attack. In this case, all 4 of our minions are attacking 1 target, which is the apprentice. First, we will roll their courage test to see if they all are able to successfully attack, or if the apprentice is too intimidating for these undead to fight. Most likely, they are going to be successful. I'm going to roll the melee attacker separately, so we'll roll a 10-sided die. So anything other than a 1 means that they're able to successfully attempt an attack. So he can attack, and now we'll roll 3 dice for the ranged ones. And nobody got a 1, so all 4 attacks can go forward. They passed their courage test. How the attack works, we'll look on the Shambler's card and look at the attack line and look at those symbols and numbers to the right of that. When they attack, the first number shows that they can use 1 10-sided die. So they're each going to roll 1 10-sided die to see if they're able to hit. Then these creatures don't have fate die, so you would see those next, so there's no fate die listed on there. And then for the next one, you have the attacks per target. The number that's in front of that little flame symbol represents the number of attacks that the enemy's taking, in this case 1. And the number in the flame is the number of targets they can attack, and again, this is just a 1. And finally, the number that you see next to the sword symbol, that's their target number. So in this case, their base is they have to roll a 7. But we're going to go ahead and look and see if there's any modifiers that are going to help the apprentice out in this case. So we would roll 4 10-sided dice, and anytime they got a 7 or higher would be considered a hit before we look at the modifiers. The apprentice still has her Sphere of Deflection ongoing card still in effect, and that means that each enemy ranged attack targeting a hero within range has a target number increased by 2. That won't affect our melee attacker, who still has to roll a 7, but our ranged attackers, our 3 Shamblers that are carrying bows, they're going to have to roll a 9 to be effective. So we'll start with the melee attacker and see if he is successful. He is not. He missed. Now we'll roll 3 dice, remembering that they need a 9 or a 10 in order to be successful. And none of them were able to hit. We can see that Sphere of Deflection came in really useful because we have 2 7s here. Without that, that would have been 2 successful hits on her. She could have reduced it by 1 because of the Ring of Neria allows her to ignore 1 damage per darkness cycle, but thanks to the Sphere of Deflection, she doesn't even have to worry about ignoring a damage. So she was able to dodge all of those attacks. That's going to end this darkness cycle. At any time we could have played interrupt cards, but I didn't really think we needed to use any of them. None of the actions that the undead were taking were threatening enough for me to worry about using interrupts. Now that the darkness cycle is concluded, we'll go back into our hero phase that was interrupted. We can pick right back up where we left off, as long as we have movement points or action spaces under our player boards that allow us to continue on. I have to decide what I want to do. I do want to get somebody over here to pick up this treasure, because if we clear the tile and there's still treasures out, they just turn into 1 gold piece instead of getting to draw from the treasure bag and maybe getting something much more useful. I was thinking of moving the apprentice because with that Ring of Neria, she gets 1 additional movement point. I could move her 3. I can't do that right now because I used the Fingers of Aya and I used that bonus for not moving. We could just end our hero phase and go into the hero deck phase, and we're not in any danger during the refresh phase because we're all 3 away from that poison dart trap. And the darkness is at 0 right now, so we're in no danger of it activating again right away. So I think that might be the tactic to take right now. I did choose to go into the hero deck phase. There were no cards to remove from the soldier. I removed the 2 cards from the Acolyte's action spaces. Both of them were already at threat, basically 0, so there was nothing to do. The apprentice is the only one that has any threat. She has 2 empty spaces. Remember, this Demon Bane is actually up here with the Sphere of Deflection under it. So with those 2 empty spaces, she can reduce her threat by 2 down to 1. The Fingers of Aya will go away because it is not an ongoing, but Research is an ongoing and the Sphere of Deflection is ongoing, and we're going to keep those in place. Now we have to decide what we want to keep, and for the apprentice, I definitely want to keep her blink because I'm going to use that to jump right over to the poison dart trap and have a couple cracks at it. The soldier, I'm going to keep Harvest of Bones because that allows me to attack multiple targets and maybe drop another treasure. So I'll discard the remainder of his hand. And for the Acolyte, he's pretty far away, but I'm going to hold on to his sprint card as a backup just in case we need somebody else to run over and try to disarm that trap. So we'll draw 4 for each of them to get their cards back up to their hand limit. And our apprentice has Hero's Edge, and that's a pretty good one. It's another ongoing. You can choose somebody on the tile or within range to gain the Hero's Edge token. You can choose another hero at the next hero cycle. The hero with the token gains +1 d10 and +1 fate die to attack actions. And that's a good one because it is a reaction and it doesn't move the darkness meter. Then we have Hustle, a move card, which may come in really handy if we need her to take extra shots at that poison dart trap. Leech, she could get some health back by draining it from a target. Chaotic Overflow. Clear any number of ongoing cards, and for each one you cleared, you may attack one target within range. And it has a range of 4, so it can be a pretty powerful card. You can only do it if you don't move, but it allows you, kind of like the Fingers of Aya, to attack plenty of targets. And she again is keeping her blink card. Let me draw 1, 2, 3, and 4 for our Acolyte. Blood of the Overcomer. That's a faith healing card. Each affected hero within range may clear all status effects. This number of affected heroes is based on your movement. And you can see that over there on the left side. And you gain a threat when you do that. Oh, didn't have to keep a sprint, we gained another one. And Consuming Fire. Attack one target within range, which is 3. If hit, the target gains DOT, which is damage over time, so it's 1 damage during the number of refresh phases equal to the faith when you cast this. That's really good for the larger monsters, your captains, mini-bosses, bosses, and lairs, to get that ongoing damage going. Then we have Intercession. One hero within range gains +1 d10 to non-combat actions and courage tests. That is perfect timing. It has a range of 5, because disarming the poison dart trap is a non-combat action. Perfect, and we can play that with any movement type, and it doesn't cost anything as far as ability points. Great timing on that card. Let me reach way up here and grab 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. For our soldier. And riding the edge we have seen already. This yoke is heavy. It's an attack. You can use it's a bash action. Rage, shield, there's all kinds of advantages to this card. Attack one target within range. If the target is a captain or a minion, the target is prone. It's a good way to knock a captain down. It doesn't do any damage, but basically use your shield to bash him to the ground. It's a good way to stun him without costing AP. Harvest of Bones, which I kept, we've already seen. And your mother is a crawler. Each enemy within a number of squares equal to your threat, you are treated as the only priority. So this is a good one to help draw enemies away from the other characters, since our soldier has such more vitality than they do. And for each rage card played, treat your threat as if it were 1 higher. So lots of advantages to it. And that is an interrupt card. So if we see that somebody's in trouble, we could play that to draw them in our direction. We now move into the refresh phase. The darkness meter is going to go up 1 because there's 1 active monster type. So we are at 1 on the darkness meter. We'll skip over the things that we don't need to do, like activate allies, resolve quest results, resolve status results. We don't have any of those. Activate traps. Poison dart trap would activate, but none of us are within 3 squares, so we don't have to worry about getting hit with a dart. And then we would clean up and be able to swap out equipment if we had any in our inventory. We'll now start our next hero phase. The priority is getting to that poison dart trap and shutting it down, picking up that treasure, and trying to take out this group of 3 minions so we can drop another treasure and hopefully leave this one by himself for a little while until we can pick up those treasures, and then we'll clear the tile by finishing him off. First, I'm going to have the Acolyte cast Intercession. So 1 hero within range gains +1 d10 to non-combat actions and courage tests. And I'm going to play that as a reaction, so he still has an action available if he needs it. And he can do that with any movement type. And I'll have the Acolyte target the apprentice, because I'm going to use her to try and take this trap out. And we'll do that first to get it taken care of. I'm going to have her cast Blink, and that is a reaction, so she can cast Blink, and that allows her to choose 1 square within 3 squares and place her hero there, and that is not a move. So we'll move her 3 straight ahead, right on top of that treasure, and right next to the poison dart trap. That card does raise the darkness meter by 1, so I moved it up 1, and now it is at 2. And now we want her to try and go after that poison dart trap. She has a base of 2 movement points, plus she has 1 extra movement point with the Ring of Neria. So we can get 3 cracks at it here, and if we are unsuccessful, we can even use a hustle card that she has in her hand to gain 2 more additional movement points. And she's now going to take a non-combat action, and the target number for the poison dart trap is an 8, and she has to be successful only 1 time. So here we go. The Intercession spell, though, allows us to gain 1 additional d10 to non-combat action. So for each attempt she makes, since she's blessed by that, we get to roll 2. So we're looking for an 8, a 9, or a 10. And this is our first movement point being used. And we got it right away. That is excellent. We have an 8 right there, and the poison dart trap is deactivated. We can go ahead and take that off of there. And that means that we now can look at the poison dart card, and there's a reward for having that occur, as far as disarming it, I mean. We're going to gain 1 Serendipity and 2 anti-venom potions. Here's our Serendipity token on the left and our 2 anti-venom potions. And I'll put the 2 potions in the apprentice's inventory since she is the one that disarmed it. And the Serendipity is like a community pool, so I'll just put it off to the side there. The anti-venom potions are pretty basic. They do exactly what you think they do. Using it gets rid of the poison status effect. Using the potion is a free action, so I can use it at any time. It doesn't require a movement point or anything like that to use. Also, as far as swapping items between characters, you can do that freely as long as they're adjacent to each other. And the only exception to that is if this is a cleared tile, then you don't have to be next to each other. You can just swap items. Serendipity is also something that can be used by any of the heroes. You can spend them to trigger different effects during the game. It's either you're spending 1, 2, 3, or 4. Right now we only have 1. And I'm not going to go over the full list of things that they can do right now. Whenever I decide to use Serendipity, I'll go ahead and go over the abilities that are able to be done according to how much I have at that time. Our apprentice was successful. She teleported behind the enemies, took out that poison dart trap with her very first movement point, which means she still has 2 left without having to use a hustle card. She's already on the treasure, so I'm going to have her use another one of her movement points, and that's going to put her now having done normal movement. So I'll adjust her card, but she can draw from the treasure bag. So we'll mix this up and see what she gets out of here. And oh, she got one of the silver ones. So that means she can draw one of the green cards. And here is our stack of green cards to draw from. I'm going to go ahead and mix them up. And I'm going to shuffle them what appears to be pretty weird, but the opening on these sleeves is on the side, so I don't want them to get stuck inside one another. So we shuffled them, I'll cut it, and we'll see what we get. And we ended up with a helm. And it says it's going to give me 1 additional health, and you may reroll 1 enemy fate die once during an attack targeting you. Alright, and she does have a space for a helm. She doesn't get to put this on right away, but she can do that during the next refresh phase. Now I think it is time to try and take out 3 more of these Shamblers. I'm going to have the soldier do so. But before I move, I'm going to have her use her boots of speed, and we'll read the special on there. It says, before spending any movement points, choose a movement type. You may spend all of your available movement points, but you are considered to be using the chosen movement type, which is really useful for her because I'm going to have her use Harvest of Bones. So I'm going to have her choose stationary, which means she's not going to move at all according to the card, but she still can. All of her movement type will be stationary. I'm going to have her move 1. And then I'm going to actually activate a Rage card. Activating Rage is simple. We just take a card off of her draw deck, leave it face down, place it in one of her action spaces. So now she currently has 1 Rage. Now we're going to have her use her Harvest of Bones card. This is an action. It's the only action she's taken, so that's fine. And it's going to cost us 2 action points, so the darkness meter is going to move up 2 more, which is now at a 4. Now, since she's considered to be visionary, she's going to get an additional D10, as you can see on the movement chart to the left. This is a melee attack, so she can use her Horrifying Spear to do this attack. And as you can see, she can attack 3 adjacent targets in a 90-degree arc. So the arc is going to start here with this Shambler, and then it's going to arc around to nobody, and then to this ranged one right here. And then the card goes on to say that it affects up to 2 additional adjacent targets, as shown, adding 1 additional target per rage card played. So the arc is going to arc around, and then because of that 1 rage card, she's going to be able to attack 1 additional target right there. We're going to build the dice pool. She gets her base of 1 and 1. The Horrifying Spear gives her 3 additional D10 and 3 additional fate dice. The Boots of Speed give her 1 additional fate die for an attack. Also, we have to keep in mind, if we need it, the ongoing research card of the Apprentice allows each hero within range, and that is a 3, which means that the soldier who is within range could reroll 1 D10 once per hero cycle. So if we have a catastrophic failure here, he gets 1 more, or she gets 1 more shot at it. And finally, the Harvest of Bones card. Since we are considered to be stationary, we get 1 more additional D10. The target number, and there's only 1 monster type, so we only need 1 success. The target number is 4 for these Shamblers. So all we have to do is roll 1 4. 5, 10, 6, 9, 7. Excellent. Really good roll. I did not make my fate recipe, but I could. I got one of the Guile. If I could use my Mantle of Fate to flip another one to a rage symbol, and that allows me to deal 2 damage to 1 target within 4 squares, which means I could take out this other archer, but I do not want to do that. I do not want to clear the tile, because if I clear the tile, then I won't have a chance to pick up the treasure that's about to drop. That successful Harvest of Bones, the arc worked its way around, took out those 2, and then finally the third and a final target thanks to that rage card, and then the treasure will drop where the third one was defeated because I took out 3 in 1 attack. Also, I raised the threat level for the soldier up to 3 because she did 3 damage by taking out 3 of those Shamblers. I think I'm going to get the Acolyte involved. I'm going to move him 2. That's his base movement. And then I'm going to use a sprint card as an action, which will raise the darkness meter to 5 because of that. But that's going to give him 3 additional movement points. And that'll mean he can move 1 onto that treasure and spend another 1 to gain it. And we can draw from the bag. Let me dig down to the bottom and get... Oh, no luck there. Ended up with one of the bronze ones. So we're going to draw from the stack of white, which are these here. Mostly gold and potions also. So let me zoom out so it's a little bit easier for the camera to focus. Shuffle those up. Cut them. I dropped one. And I ended up with a vitality potion. And this allows me to restore 4 vitality. Here's our vitality potion, and we'll place this in the Acolyte's inventory. The darkness meter is at 5. If I don't do anything else and I just stop, it's going to go up to 6, and that Shambler will activate. I could try take him out. So let me see what I have in my cards. Before we decide what we're going to do with this Shambler here, I'm going to go ahead and cast Hero's Edge, which I can do because I am still at normal movement with my apprentice, and it's another ongoing card. Choose one hero within range to gain the Hero's Edge token. You may choose another hero next hero cycle, and a hero with that token gains 1d10 and 1 fate dice to attack actions. This is a reaction, so it's not going to cost us anything either as far as AP. And the range on it is the tile, and I'm going to give that to our soldier. So that will be affecting the soldier as long as this ongoing remains in one of the apprentice's action spots. And I have one more action spot left with the apprentice. I'm going to have her cast Leech. She's not going to get any bonuses because she moved, but it allows her to attack one target within range, and that Shambler is right next to her, and it only has a range of 1. If it's successful, I'll do 2 damage, only need to do 1, and then I could restore vitality, but she has not been hurt. It does cost us 1 AP, which is going to bump us up to 6, so if she's not successful, then the Shambler will activate. She has her base 1 and 1. This is able to be used as a focus attack, so her Demon's Bane comes into play. She'll gain 2 additional D10 and 4 additional fate die. Thanks to the Ring of Neria, she'll get another additional fate die. And I believe that would be all of her bonuses for this particular attack. She doesn't get anything from Leech because she moved already. She does have research going, so if she fails, she can still re-roll a die. She has to hit a target number of 4. Oh, she got a 10 and a 7 in there, so we're good. She did not get her fate die recipe, but she didn't have to clear any ongoing cards out anyway, so we're okay there. So she is successful. She was able to leech the life, well, what little bit of life was left in that reanimated Shambler. It's going to raise her threat by 1 up to 2. Now she did 2 damage, but it only raises your threat for the damage you actually do, and since the Shambler only had 1 health, she only has to raise her threat 1. We've cleared the realm tile. At this time, we would resolve any quests. We don't have to worry about that. Each hero may choose to reduce their threat to 0, and I'll go ahead and do that, so everybody's threat will now go to 0. At this time, we would remove any treasure counters that were still on the realm tile from the tile, and we would get 1 gold for each of them. Then we're going to remove all of the treasure counters from the darkness board, and we're losing 2 there, but I don't think we could have did much better than what we did do. We'll get more treasure counters on the darkness board when we move on to the next tile. If down here in the legend there was a gold reward, we would collect it now. Any treasure or gold hoards that were down here in the legend we'd collect, and if we had a merchant symbol, then we would draw a random merchant card and resolve that. Now we can freely swap between our players and use any of our items that are in our inventory. I'm going to have the helm added to the apprentice, which is going to give her another health and take her base, or not her base, but it's going to add to her base, and now she has 7 vitality. And again, we can reroll 1 enemy fate dice once per attack targeting us. I said that wrong. It's not once per attack, it's 1 enemy fate die once during an attack targeting you. I'm also going to give the anti-venom tokens from the apprentice, give 1 each to the Acolyte and the soldier. And the Acolyte is going to pass that vitality potion to the apprentice because she has the least vitality. I gave them the anti-venom potions because I assume they're going to be doing most of our face-to-face melee fighting while she stands back and provides support with her ongoings and attacking at a distance. That tile is cleared. Before we move on to the next tile, I'm going to end our hero cycle and move into the deck phase, and we can reduce our threat. Here, we could have reduced it by 2, but it was down to 0, and we ended up getting rid of an impenetrable card because of our rage action. Same here with the Acolyte. Again, everyone's at 0 threat, nothing to worry about. The blink card is going to come and go into her discard pile along with her leech card. But the research and hero's edge are ongoings I'm going to keep in her action spots, and the sphere of deflection will stay underneath her Demon's Bane. We don't know what we're going to deal with on the next tile. So we have the ability to keep Chaotic Overflow and Hustle. I'm going to keep Chaotic Overflow because I have 3 ongoing cards going right now, and I could clear them and attack a lot of enemies in one shot. Since we don't know what we have coming up, I'm going to keep that one for her, and I'll put that up there so we can see it. The fighter riding the edge. Yeah, let's hold on to riding the edge. That way we can dash through a group of enemies if we have them. I don't have to hold on to any cards. We got Sprint, Blood of the Overcomer. We don't have to worry about status effects right now. Consuming Fire, that's the one that does damage over time. If we end up with a lair on the next tile, and I think we will because it's one of the big realm tiles, that'll come in really useful. So we'll draw back up, grab 4 cards out of the Apprentice's deck, and she ended up getting Blood of Gaia. That's a nice attack card also. It does cost us 2 AP when it happens, but that's okay because we can end up taking out 4 targets with it. Illuminate. Each instinct enemy within range, that means on the tile, has its target number increased by 1. Really good if we run into some instinct enemies. The Mountain Crumbles. Wow, she's got a lot of good attack cards here. That takes out an enemy and 1 target behind it. Rift Walk, that's my interrupt. Choose 1 square up to 3 away. Place your hero in that square and not consider it a move. That's a great interrupt to get her out of trouble. She's got a really good hand right now. Let me grab 1, 2, 3, and a 4th one for our Acolyte. And we got Last Rites, another powerful attack card. This is really good if you have a lot of faith. You can target an enemy in the middle there, and then starting with 1 adjacent target and working around in a clockwise motion, you can attack more targets as long as you have enough faith. You can attack 1 additional target for each faith you have. Then we have the Armor of Faith, which is a faith card. That's good timing. Each enemy within range has its attack's target numbers increased by a number equal to your faith. Well, that really stacks nicely. Hand of the Father, restore 3 vitality to a hero. And you can affect additional heroes according to your faith. And then we have a second Last Rites card. Lots of good attack cards there. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'll take that. An interrupt. Ignore 1 enemy attack targeting you. Here's another interrupt. The Blade Dance. Attacks targeting you gain 2 target numbers. After resolving an enemy attack targeting you, attack 1 target within range for each rage card played. Wow, you could really counterattack well with that. Oh, another interrupt. Too many interrupts. Before resolving an enemy melee attack targeting you, gain 2 movement points to spend immediately and ignore the attack. Not a move. And then we got a sprint card. Well, at least we got riding the edge for an attack and lots of interrupts, so if we want to dive into a pile of enemies, we're in pretty good shape there. Now we would have went into the darkness cycle because this was at a 6, but there's no enemies on here, so it's going to reset right back down to 0. And that'll take us into the hero cycle again. Now, each hero who begins the hero cycle on a cleared tile like this can spend their base MP, which is 2, to enter the new tile, which is going to be down below here. I'll shift everything up and we'll put the new tile on the board. And when they spend that base movement points, they can move their player from anywhere on the current tile to a square adjacent. For example, the apprentice would move to any one of the adjacent squares on the connecting tile, as long as it's on one of these 3 squares. It can't be adjacent to here because that has a red band around it and you can't move into it. So we're going to do that. We're going to get the next realm tile, place it at the bottom here. I'll shift everything up so we can get it on camera. And then as soon as the first player steps onto the new tile, we'll have to populate it.